day and welcome to Beyond the Role Leadership Unboxed. My name is Ropa Alice. Today we are joined by Krista Larock. Krista, welcome to Beyond the Role.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm very happy to be invited.
Thank you so much for hitting to the call. So let's just dive into it. May you introduce yourself as if someone were introducing you?
Sure. So if someone were to introduce me professionally, they would probably say, we'd like to introduce Krista Larock Wells. She's an instructor of marketing for Clarkson University. She has a varied history in higher education as well as development, and her expertise lies in marketing research.
Impressive. You mentioned that you're an instructor here at Clarkson University. So my follow-up question will be, what inspired you to pursue this career, to be where you are today?
So my career path is varied heavily. Teaching marketing has been something that I've been interested in since I was pursuing a bachelor's degree. That was my main focus for my bachelor's degree as well as both of my master's degrees. And it's something that I've always had a passion for. So after I completed my degrees, I did go into industry and I worked in development for a period of time for a local hospital before moving into a management role over here at Clarkson. My expectation was that I wouldn't be able to teach until I was, much further along in my career. I have found through my own experiences that I enjoy instructors that can draw from personal experiences in industry. And I had the opportunity to apply to realize my dream of teaching sooner, so I took advantage of it because I'm not going to let the opportunity slip by. And I was fortunate enough to be chosen for the role. And I do have to say that I rely a bit on the experiences that I've had working in development. That's the career path that was most closely related to marketing in my day-to-day. And I have found that to be really valuable in my teaching. In addition to just general knowledge about what's going on in my industry and staying up to date and talking to my colleagues, but having that industry experience has been very helpful to me.
It's quite profound that you said you had this passion whilst you were doing your bachelor's degree, and despite you going into industry, that did not derail the dream or the passion that you had, and here you are today. So to our listeners, this is also a lesson to say, no matter where you then find yourself in, if you have a passion or if you have a dream, do not let it go. Just keep going. Things will then just fall into place one day or the other. So beyond you being an instructor, who are you?
Well, I am also a mom of two little girls. I have an almost 4-year-old and an almost 8-year-old. So that is where I spend most of my time when I'm not at work. I also am really interested in art. So some of my hobbies are like painting or drawing or doing photography. So outside of just my general professional life, that's really who I am, as somebody who's invested in their family and invested in the arts. And travel.
And travel. So I was about to add you missed travel there.
I do love to travel. Especially with my children.
Which is great. Traveling really then opens your mind to different cultures, different people, because you get to meet different people as you travel. I would like to know, Krista, if your colleague had to describe you in 3 words, what would they say about you?
The first one I'll use, I hear often, is that I'm extremely efficient.
Yep.
So when I have my mind set to something, I sit down and I get it taken care of, and I look for efficiencies. So when I worked in a management role before I came over to teaching, that was one of the primary responsibilities that I had, was to make sure that my team that had become very lean was able to operate efficiently. So I inherently am looking for those efficiencies just day to day, and I can find them in how I prep for my classes. I can give suggestions to my colleagues just because of the background knowledge I have about the university and what their role is. Sometimes I can provide some extra insight into how the system might be able to help them.
Yep.
So efficiency for sure. They probably would also say that I am driven. When I set my mind to something, it is going to happen. Sooner or later it will happen. And then A third one, I'm very organized.
Okay.
So my traits tend to lie pretty heavily in that same sort of, sphere: efficiency, organization. I'm reliable.
I've experienced efficiency and driven, because when I mentioned this to you, instead of me keeping on saying, "Oh, Krista, when are we doing this?" You're the one who's like, "Girl, we need to do this." It really then shows in your day to day, in your work, and also like outside of work. So you gave us your key turning point in your career to say you graduated, you worked in development, and the key turning point was when you came to Clarkson. You also had another managerial role. What was the key turning point for you to move from the managerial role to becoming an instructor?
So I had the opportunity to adjunct here while I was in the managerial role, and I really enjoyed that, and I was able to demonstrate that it was something that I could do successfully. So then when a position over here opened up for an instructor, I applied for it, and of the candidates, I was the one that was chosen. So luck with timing, my inability to let things that I'm interested in go.
That's pretty, oh, that's profound.
Yeah, my inability to not let things I want go.
Driven.
Yes.
What's the biggest, being an instructor, you're in a leadership position. Being in a managerial role, that was also a leadership position. So what is the biggest challenge that you are facing right now, and how are you tackling it?
So the biggest challenge that I'm facing probably isn't with my classrooms, but I also serve on several committees. Some of them are like university-wide, and then some of them are school-wide. But the biggest one is probably, I won't get too specific here, but our committee was tasked with an initiative that no one agrees on. Mm-hmm. And I'm the chair of the committee that was tasked with this. So bringing everybody from all of the different schools within the university who have their own competing priorities together to come up with a cohesive plan for how to move forward. And it's going to end up with, no one is happy, but we have to collaborate together to come up with the best worst option.
Best option. It's something that I also faced like during my previous role, where you're working with people from different departments and different backgrounds, trying to bring people together and to agree on one thing is very, very difficult. I like how you're looking at it to say best worst situation, because there's a win-win, like it's a win-win for everyone, I think, at the end of the day, because we just have to look at what is the goal at the end of the day, what is it that we're trying to achieve, and then just drive towards that. I believe that in our day-to-day we use data. I think there's data everywhere, like from the campus data, from our phone data, like there's data almost everywhere. When was a time when data said one thing and your judgment said another, and how did you navigate around that?
So in my last role, it was more of a leadership managerial role. So I had to work with data and make data-driven recommendations regularly.
Yep.
That said, you have to think about the bigger picture. So the data is quantifiable facts, but you also have to think about the person at the end of that when you're thinking about, say, student services and what students need. You may not be able to quantify everything that they're going to need.
Yeah.
So being aware of that bigger picture and bringing those things to the conversation, I think helps, even if the data is saying maybe this one thing isn't necessary, but the impact on these few students is large enough that we want to keep it anyway. So just being aware of the big picture, I think, is important.
Thank you for sharing that, being aware of the bigger picture and not losing sight of it. I think this is, to our listeners, this is something that is consistent with Krista, being aware of the bigger picture. Bachelor's degree, she was aware of the bigger picture. She wanted to be an instructor, and here she is. With your data, if it's different from what you're thinking, if the quantitative is different from the qualitative, it's still the bigger picture. with people from different backgrounds that you're working with, the challenge that you just mentioned, with people from different departments, still look at the bigger picture. That's one lesson that I'm drawing from this conversation. Focus on the bigger picture. So resilience is a word that we hear a lot in professions. And what does resilience actually mean to you in practice?
So I would say that not everything is always going to be rosy.
Yeah.
And especially today, things like change happen very quickly and very often. So even if things are not necessarily changing the way that you had hoped or changing in a way that negatively impacts you, it's going to pass.
Yep.
So keeping a at least somewhat positive attitude, thinking about what is still going well, and how you might be able to use those disadvantages to your advantage in the future, I think that that's going to be really important to being resilient. Because if you just let all of the negative bring you down, you're just only going to see the negative, and you are going to have a very difficult time getting out of that spiral.
Thank you. Is there a project or initiative that you're most proud of, and what impact did it have?
I have a lot of things that I enjoyed doing, and I take pride in doing work well, but I don't like to take full credit for most of the things that I work on, because typically they're team efforts.
Yeah.
But the thing that I have most enjoyed working on was I was on a committee that pulled together resources for employees to help work-life balance.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of elder care that happens for employees in the area. A lot of people may not have a strong income but still have children at home to raise. So being on a committee that pulled all of those resources together into a page on the intranet and a little workbook for how you can get help, how Clarkson can help you as an employee, how the county can help you, and pushing that out to those people that might have those needs and that might make all the difference in the world to them, was probably the most impactful.
Thank you for that. She's not just a marketer, she is a heart for people. The other lesson that I'm also drawing from you is just then thinking of the person at the end, just then having that heart for people. What's a common misconception or myth about being a professor you wish people understood?
I would say that some professors are not as interested in being involved with students as they are with their research, or at least have that perception. So it's typically applied across the university, but I know so many professors here at Clarkson that are all about the students, and they still have their research and it's still important to them, but they'll do things like involve the students in their research. So I think giving professors a chance to show that that's not what they're all about is important. So we're a pretty research heavy school, but that I don't think the students should be lost in that.
Yeah. We're still on that human to human.
We're all people at the end of the day.
We're going to start a hashtag here, professors are human too. Despite them having these researchers, they are also human too. That's quite interesting. Who has been your most important mentor, and what did you learn from them, if you believe in this whole having people who are mentors to you?
Oh, you absolutely need a mentor. And I've had many mentors over the years. So the first mentor that I had in my career path was in development, and her name was Cindy Clusen-Sherwood, and she was the director of our foundation, and she had so much heart and so much insight into how to raise money and how to connect the right donors to the right initiatives, so that everyone ends up feeling really good about their donation. Having that mindset in development is so important. And then when I came over into a managerial role, I had Jennifer Stokes as a mentor, and I had her for many years, and she was so good with data and helping me understand and learn the new systems and gain the soft skills that I needed to go along with that. I wouldn't be where I am today without her. And then now I have really several mentors in the department that are there to answer questions for me and give me advice. I think it's essential to always have a mentor, and then also to pass that mentorship off to the next employee. So there are people that I've mentored in each of those fields. Not quite yet here because I'm still so new in this role, but passing that knowledge and that expertise and that advice on to the next generation is what's going to keep us strong.
So what I think what we're also learning from here is that it is not only then going to end with you. It's like a hose pipe that you're taking from one end and you're giving to another end. So if we all have mentors, let's then strive one day to also become a mentor to someone, so that we are passing the baton to the next person and it does not end with us. Thank you for sharing that, Krista. If you were to meet your younger self today, not to say you're old, but if you were to meet your younger self today, what would you tell them?
I would probably tell them to not give up.
Yeah.
So there are always hard times in everyone's lives, both personal and professional, and just not giving up and understanding that time period is just a season. You're going to move past it and you'll come out stronger on the other side.
Thank you. It's just a season that will come to pass. So if there's anyone who's watching this and who would want also to pursue a career in being a professor or an instructor, what advice would you give to them?
I would say that having some sort of work experience to draw upon when you're giving examples in class is important. Yeah. Also, staying abreast of what's happening in the field is going to be important, and then practicing speaking, because public speaking is something that doesn't come naturally to most people, but it's going to be essential if you're going to stand and talk in front of 80 students for an hour 3 times a week. You have to be comfortable doing that, and that can be difficult. So along with that, I would also say that they just shouldn't give up. So practice and stay positive and just do your best. And I think the students see that.
The students we definitely see that. Thank you. So I know, Krista, you like reading books. So on her email signature, there's always a book that she's currently reading. What book are you currently reading, and what has been the most life-changing book that you've read?
So the book I'm currently reading is called The Girls' Weekend, and I'm not very far into it yet, but it is like a psychological thriller type of book, and it seems good so far. But that's the type of book that I like to read, where it gets to a very speedy process throughout the book. I can't handle books that are very slow. The most impactful book, I've read a lot of books that have made some sort of impact on me. Ones that I think about regularly would be like The Secret Life of Bees. I really enjoyed The Help, and I think about that one a lot. And then Room is another one that had a big impact on me.
That's nice. Quite a library thing.
Also Harry Potter. I love Harry Potter books.
Those Harry Potters are nice. I'm currently reading the 5 a.m. Club. So during my internship, there's this thing that I kept mentioning and saying, I'm not a morning person. And my supervisor then would be like, you need to be a morning person if you're going to be working. So I then bought the 5 a.m. Club in hope that I'll become a morning person one of these days. But I do struggle waking up. I am not a morning person.
I'll have to check that book out because I'm also not a morning person. As far as professional books, though, that made me think, I have a book on my shelf that I recommend all the time. I don't know where it is in here, but it's called Marketing to Mind States. And it's really interesting because it goes into the consumer behavior side of marketing, and I'm really interested in that, and like what types of displays people are most attracted to, and why we might initially say, no, I'm not interested in this, and how that's just part of our like natural behavior and how to overcome that. So that it's a very good book if you're interested in marketing.
I think I'll have a look at it as well. So beyond your title and legacy, what do you hope to leave?
I really just hope that what I'm leaving behind as far as like an interest in my field, even if they're not necessarily crazy interested in marketing, at least that like understanding of what it is and why it's important is important to me. And then I have many like personal things with my children, but as far as work, that's where I land.
That's interesting. If you can complete this sentence for me, success beyond the role means?
I would say that it means being a well-rounded person and thinking about things beyond yourself. So again, big picture. So think big picture, and then that'll get you involved in more groups outside of your siloed sphere, and it'll bring you different perspectives. And that's just really helpful, especially to me as an individual, because I can apply that to other things in my life. So thinking beyond yourself, thinking beyond the immediate situation, I think is important.
That's interesting. It's a big lesson there. So now we move to the fun segment. I like this because it makes me laugh all the time. What's the funniest mistake you made if you remember, in your very first job?
So my very first job was at McDonald's. And I was in charge of French fries at first. So that was like my first day. And I burned a lot of French fries that day. You would think that it'd be very easy because you're just pushing buttons and leaving them in the fryer, but I burned a lot of French fries during our first hour. I eventually got there though.
You eventually got there. You're giving them bento offerings. Can you describe the most surprising thing that happened in your first week here at Clarkson or as an instructor?
So I think the most surprising to me was how many athletes we have on this campus. So we have a lot of athletes that need accommodations for classes or might miss Friday classes, and I was surprised at the volume of that. That wasn't something I was super involved with before. Like I knew we had athletes, I knew they were important, I didn't know how many there were.
It's just the quantity. If money were not an object, what job would you try for a day?
I mean, I really like my job now. This really is my dream job. I would be interested in like being an angel investor for companies that are trying to get off the ground. That would be fun.
What's a job you've always wanted as a kid?
This one.
Oh, great.
When I was a kid, though, I actually also was considering being a lawyer.
Nice.
Yes, but when I get competitive, I feel like I get too competitive, and I don't love that version of myself.
Oh yeah, you mentioned that earlier. I also wanted to become a lawyer, but here I am. When I also get competitive, it becomes toxic. So
yes, toxic's a good word for how I get when I get too competitive also.
So rather be peaceful.
Yes.
What's a task where you always assigned as a child?
As a child, I don't know, I wasn't really assigned any specific tasks repeatedly. Like I had to clean my room. But I was not so good at anything that I was always chosen for it.
Interesting. If you could trade places with any fictional character for a day, who will it be and why?
Hermione Granger, because she's excellent at doing magic.
Oh.
Or maybe Sherlock Holmes. That would also be kind of interesting, but that could be kind of gross too. So.
What's one job that you'd be most terrified?
I would not make a good housekeeper. I tried it actually for a few months, and then I chose to pursue a different opportunity for a college job.
Would you rather be famous or anonymous in your field, the marketing field?
I would honestly rather be anonymous. I would like to add to the field, but I don't want people like prying into my personal life.
Into your personal life.
Yes, I'm very private with my personal life.
Which is great. Would you rather have a perfect memory to be able to see into the future?
I would rather have a perfect memory. I don't want to know what's coming. That takes the fun out of life.
That takes the fun out of life, true. Would you rather take a lot of small risks or one big risk in your career?
Well, I did take a really big risk coming over here because it was completely different from what I was doing.
Yeah.
But I think both could have their benefits. So I think it would depend on what the risks were and what the reward was.
Well, it is cost benefit analysis.
Yes.
So would you rather lose all your work on your computer or have to listen to the same song on repeat for a month? That boring song.
I'm going to say lose all the work on my computer because I could probably recreate that. I can't come back from insanity if I have to listen to the same song for a month straight.
Wow. That's different now as an speaker. Thank you so much, Krista. Is there any question I missed that you wish I'd asked you today?
I can't think of anything. I think you really hit the nail on the head with most of the questions. You hit on mentorship, you hit on things that led to the big picture. I think those are all important things related to leadership and where your role is as a bigger person.
Well, thank you so much, Krista, for making time to sit with me and having this conversation. Really appreciate it. And to our listeners, thank you so much for listening to this episode. Our next episode will be next Monday, and keep liking, keep subscribing, keep sharing with your friends. Once again, Krista, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Cheers.